Hi friends, and welcome back for day 9 of October Eve 2022. So I am going to get a little bit creepy today, and we're going to be using these stamps from Picket Fence. This is the Not Scared You Should Be stamp set, as well as the Color Can Cure the Soul, or Color Can Heal the Soul. Color Can Heal the Soul, yeah, that one. Because of these beautiful drips. And these are sets that I actually found on sale from Picket Fence. They had like a limited sale offer, and so I went ahead and got some. These are my first Picket Fence items I've ever purchased, and after this card, let me tell you, I will be purchasing from them again. So we're going to be doing some ink blending and some emboss resist, and it's going to be a good one. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so you don't have to worry about it later, and we can hang out every Friday for some more crafty inspiration. So I'm going to be jumping right in to my ink blending. I'm going to be doing my ink blending first with this, just because I know that I'm going to be using that black embossing powder, and it's going to cover all of my inks through, so I don't actually have to do true emboss resist with this, although we definitely do get the effect at the end. So I'm starting out by going in with Spice Marmalade in the bottom left corner, and I'm going to be creating kind of a rainbow. It doesn't have green or like a true blue, so it probably doesn't really count as a true rainbow, and we're switching up the order. But if there was such a thing as a Halloween rainbow, for me this would be it. So I'm going in, like I said, with that spiced marmalade in the corner, and then Crackling Campfire, then Fired Brick, then Seedless Preserves, then Villainous Potion, and then I'm going to darken up all the edges with Black Soot. So you can see I'm kind of creating that rainbow arched shape all the way across from one corner to the other, and I'm just kind of taking my time, making sure that I'm overlapping all of my inks, and I'm not going to be super concerned about going all the way to the very top or where my fingers are now to the left, because the top part of our stamp is going to cover that very top edge. So kind of just keeping that in mind while I'm building out this shape. But you can see I'm kind of just playing with, you know, the colors, and I just love how vibrant these all look, especially once we add the black. It really helps to make all of these pop, and turned out a lot more bright and yeah, just more vibrant than I originally planned, and I absolutely love it. I love it. So like I said, I hadn't tried Picket Fence before, so definitely keep an eye out if they're a newer brand to you as well. I was able to find that amazing sale. I'm pretty sure these were literally like half price. But the quality was great. The shipping was great. I accidentally ordered 2 of this, the Heal Your Soul stamp set, on accident instead of 1 of each. And I emailed customer service. They took care of it for me super quick. I 100% will be ordering from them again, because that combination, great quality, great customer service, fast shipping, you don't get better than that. So 10 out of 10 recommend them, that's for sure. And to change things up and try something different, I'm going in with that drippy stamp, and I am using the same colors that I've used kind of in that area. So I'm going in with Villainous Potion first, and I'm just stamping that over select areas of the image or the ink blending that I already have down, and I'm just kind of creating these messy kind of tone on tone drips that are gonna peek out from under the black embossing when this is all done. So I definitely do like this. I think I would like to practice it a little more. It didn't turn out exactly like I was hoping, but I do think the overall effect is cool. And if you didn't have the creepy stamp, this not scared you should be stamp, this by itself would be really fun, and you could always just add the black at the very top and just have kind of that dripping effect. But also this one clearly can be used year round for any occasion, and I also think it would be really fun to use upside down in like an ocean scene to turn that into coral somehow. But That's just, you know, my crazy brain. So I'm going in with every single color. I really had a lot of fun with that fired brick, adding in kind of those red tones. You can see that one is kind of a little squiggly. It definitely gave, you know, the feel of a little bit of blood splatter or something like that, but it's Halloween. We're allowed to get a little creepy, and it's still a rainbow, right? So it's not too creepy, hopefully. If it is, you let me know down in the comments below. But I think if there's, you know, ever a chance for us to take something and blur the edges a little bit, it's Halloween. So you can see I'm kind of going in with my foam blender right on the top edge of that, just to make sure that I don't have a harsh stop or start line where my inks kind of overlap on each other. And now I'm going in with that black soot just to darken all my edges. I have a full stick Post-it note attached to my fingertips, and that's just to make sure that I'm not picking up ink with my fingers and either leaving fingerprints behind or moving color where I don't want it to be. And then I also went in with some clear, clean water just to add some splatter and some drips. You could see I kind of tapped it down to make sure that my little drips spread a little bit, and then just dab that off with a paper towel. And I'm also going to be going in to add some black splatter using the black soot with just a little bit of sprayed water right onto it. And I'm just going to tap that on with a paintbrush. And I believe I kind of dab that a little bit up with the paper towel as well. And I like this because the black dots aren't super dark. They're just a little bit. It's just like a little hint of grunge. So I did trim down my panel, and then I obviously had to go in and add the black to my edges again. I tried to make sure that I trimmed from the top so that and one side, so I only really had to add to the other side. And I pulled in that black a little bit further, again, just to grunge it up. I did a little test with my embossing powder to make sure that my panel was dry enough that I wouldn't have to worry about embossing powder sticking where I didn't want it to be. And so it passed the test. I'm using licorice embossing powder from Pink & Main. It is so black and so dark, and I love it. I love the effect this gives. So this is a very opaque stamp. I did stamp it a couple times. I'm going in with my anti-static powder tool from powder brush from Pink & Main, and I think I honestly overdid it a little bit with the powder. I definitely had a little bit of kind of residue left on my ink blending, so keep that in mind. I didn't need to add as much, probably because I had tested before and I knew that my ink was dry, so you know, just keep that in mind. So I stamped my image down twice with the Ink on 3 super black pigmented ink, and now I'm going in with my Pink & Main embossing watermark ink. And I cleaned my stamp off in between, but I should have cleaned it better because now I have tiny little black flecks in my embossing ink on my ink pad. So if you're gonna do this, I would either clean your stamp off better or give that ink on your paper a little bit longer to dry before you go over it with the watermark ink. I'm not sure exactly what I did wrong, but there's definitely black ink on my embossing ink pad now. So I went in with that licorice embossing powder over some printer paper so I could funnel it back in, and then I heat set it, and it definitely warped a lot. In hindsight, I wish that I had laid this down on my silicone mat and heat embossed it on a more flat surface to help it from curling so much. I think it's because this is just so much powder and such a opaque area. It's so dense. And then so I ran it through my embossing machine, and you can see because of that, the paper that I put it in, I just used printer paper to keep it from getting scratched up. It definitely left a little bit of texture on my embossing, so it's not as shiny. So I don't dislike it. I think it still looks great, but if I had used my silicone mat and heat gunned it flat, I wouldn't have needed to run it through my embossing machine, and then it wouldn't have changed the texture and shine. So if I could do it over, that's what I would do differently. And I was inspired by Amy R from Paper Prairie ink, right? Prairie Paper and Ink. I'll link her down below. Amy always does really fun stuff on the inside of her cards, and so I was inspired by her to go in with the same colors I used to do my blend on the top and shade in this other ghosty guy from the stamp set for the inside of my card, and I'm just tapping over the areas where the colors meet up with one of my Simon Says Stamp blending brushes. I'm also not panicking about making sure these are super opaque or super perfectly blended. It's just like an extra fun bonus thing on the inside, and so I'm not gonna sweat it. So I went the whole way down the rainbow, and I'll see I just go in with my brush and I'm just tapping so that I don't have a harsh edge where the colors transition, pressing that down, and I think it just adds such a cool effect. And the fact that it's a little bit more kind of distressed almost makes it look like a night sky with stars. It looks very galaxy to me. So the front says "not scared?" ? And the inside says "you should be," with that other kind of ghosty boogeyman guy popping up. I did get a little bit of ink here and there, and so I went in with my little sand eraser to clean that up. I decided that I wanted a black frame to, again, pop the contrast of our embossed little guy on the front. And so I am just adding on that panel to the front of my card base with some mono permanent adhesive. I wanted to make sure that all of the edges of my cardstock were really nice and black, so I'm also taking my foam blender and just running it right along the edges so that it doesn't, the white core of the paper doesn't pop up against that black frame. And then for a little bit of dimension, I'm taking some black play foam. This is just like craft foam you can get from the craft store or the dollar store. I'm trimming it down. I bought a bunch of these on clearance once, and so I'm pretty sure I'll be using this craft foam for the next 10 years of card making. But I just trimmed it down. I'm using that same tape runner to adhere it to my card base and to my card stock. You can also use liquid glue and just put something heavy on top. But man, I love this card. It's so creepy. His little fingernails, I think, is what does it for me. This is the best kind of boogeyman, in my opinion, and the best kind of creepy rainbow. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have an amazing night. I'll see you tomorrow for the next day of October Eve, and as always, happy crafting.